So let's talk about your posting in Iran from 76 to 79. That's a very important conjuncture in Iranian history. You went there when Shah, when the Pahlavi dynasty was there, and witnessed the Islamic Revolution firsthand in 79. So, what was the general mood in Iran in 76 when you landed there?
Well, after we landed there is a custom in diplomacy. The first secretaries of the United States, UK, and Sweden, they invited me for drinks. I was a newcomer. They had been there for quite some time. So they proposed a toast welcoming me. And then the American said he wanted to propose a toast to the Shah. And then he said that if anything the history of Iran teaches us, it is that the institution of Shah will be there forever. Because that was the time Shah was celebrating 2500th anniversary of the Persian
Monarchy.
or empire. So we again drank to that. Then they asked me whether I agreed with that conclusion, that the institution Shah will be there forever. So I said, I've just come. I've been here hardly 1 week. Then, very wickedly, I said, let us check with the Iranians. I could see that they were the American was upset. So I quickly turned this thing. Now it is my turn to propose a toast to my gracious hosts. And, between our relations and all that. I turned the topic. Now, the thing is this, I told you the reception I went to. Now, our hostess, she had a sleeveless blouse, and very prominently displayed was a photograph of her with the Shah Banu, the
First lady
of Iran. And then I noticed somewhere in the corner, right-hand corner, there was a small photograph of Khomeini. Matchbox size photograph, Well, we used to go there to that house for dinners and all that. So over time, I noticed two things. One is that her sleeves were coming down. Another is that the Khomeini photograph was getting bigger and bigger. And one day, she had full sleeves. The Khomeini photograph had replaced the Shah Banu photograph. That was the change. And the next day, they used to have big demonstrations. I used to go and hang around. This is a huge demonstration, about, say, 100 men, like this. One line here, another 100 here, a third 100 here. And they were in white. Now the shroud, how you cover the dead body in Iran is white. So what these men were saying, listen, there will be shooting. We will take it. But then you should run away. Meaning people behind them should run away. But we will take it. Now, I was watching all that, and I suddenly found my hostess with a stone. She was part of the demonstration. Can you imagine? Savak, senior official's wife,
in the protest against Shah.
You see. Another thing is that, those days there was curfew from 7:30, 8 o'clock onwards.
We're talking about 70.
76, 77.
Okay, so the protests were there in 76.
77.
77.
And we used to go for dinner when you are invited about 5:30. And we used to finish by 7ish to be back before curfew. Or alternatively, we slept there. The hostess made arrangements for you to sleep. And the first thing you did on getting back was to call the hostess, "Thank you for the dinner, and I have reached home safe."
That was the mood.
That was the mood, you know what I mean. Now, I was doing commercial work, first secretary. One day I got a call from Armenian merchant. He said, they are coming to your part of the city. So, we have to be very careful over the telephone because your telephones are always,
On tap. Bugged.
So I said, well, I'm sure they are good people. He said, yes, of course they are good people. Then I said, what are they doing? Oh, nothing much. They might set fire to a cinema showing foreign films, a shop selling alcohol, or maybe a foreign bank also. But they are good people. So I said, of course. So I told him, I'll get back to you. Because they were coming to my part of the, meaning where the embassy is. And I knew that all my colleagues had their bank account with the British Bank of the Middle East. So I was discussing something with the Indian delegation. They had come to sell something. So I told them, give me a minute or two. So I told the head of chancery, listen, this is what is happening. So I want everyone in the embassy to go to the bank and withdraw the money without giving any impression that the embassy knows something. And I want this to be finished in 30 minutes. 2 people may go together, but not 5. We have to play it carefully. So the head of chancery said after 30 minutes, sir, it's done. He said, thank you. Then I told this delegation, we'll discuss it again. So I walked into the bank. As soon as I walked, the girl asked me, what's happening? I said, how do I know what's happening? Then she said very sweetly, can I give you an overdraft? So I said, thank you. I won't take any overdraft. I'll just take the money that is in my account. As I was saying that, I could see that she was grabbing currency notes, stuffing them into her handbag. And just flick of an eye, other girls started doing the same thing. Counter here, counter there, counter there. And then I told the girl, I'm so glad to see you happy. Now, let's meet tomorrow for coffee. She said, of course. And we agreed where to meet. Then I was looking at the watch, came out. Then I didn't want to go to office. I wanted to see what was going to happen. So I bought myself Tehran, the newspaper, in Farsi, which I don't read, but I pretended to read because I also didn't want to attract attention to my presence. Attention either from Savak or from anyone else. Well, after about 10 minutes, the girls came out and my friend waved at me. Well, for once, I was very unchivalrous. I just looked through her. I didn't greet her back because it would have been dangerous for me to greet her back because that would draw attention to me. Well, after another 10 minutes, the protesters came. They had Molotov cocktails. The whole building gutted down. And what I noticed was that after they had completed the job, then the police was coming. And then these people ran to their next target. And I couldn't help thinking that there was a secret understanding between the police and these people. Meaning, these police will give them enough time to finish the job. But when the police comes, they should be seen as running away, scared of the police. And I told my ambassador, something is happening. Maybe this is the beginning of the end. Though it can take time, but he said, no. I saw the Shah yesterday. He was looking very confident. So I said, sir, royalty is trained to look confident. Even if Shah has a severe stomachache, he won't show it. They are trained. Yes, Fabian, but I don't think so. I think he is okay. All right, sir, we'll talk again. Well, weeks later, there is a city called Abadan in Iran. About a crowd of protesters, 400 or 500, they were demonstrating. And then the security forces came. And there was fear that there will be shooting. So these people, they rushed into a theater, cinema house. Got in. Men, women, children. Then you know what happened? Somebody, we don't know who, thank you, locked it from outside. The whole building. And then somebody set fire to it. And these hundreds of people burned to death. Now,
This was in the main Tehran city.
no, Abadan, another
Abadan,
city,
okay.
another city. Now, I was watching. See, the Shah comes on the television before the television stops. And, he sort of gives his blessings to the people. I was watching. I was expecting the Shah to say, listen, this terrible thing has happened. I will do my utmost to catch those who are responsible and bring them to justice. He didn't say that. So I again told my ambassador, listen, if he doesn't say that, that means, again, it is the beginning of the end. Anyway, I don't think I carried conviction. Doesn't matter.
You did, I think.
Anyway, so then, of course, Shah fled and Khomeini came. And at that time, I had recommended to the government, MEA, that the Doordarshan should send a team to document, take of what is happening by talking to Iranians, including Khomeini. You know what I mean? Well, no action was taken. Anyway, then later the American embassy was taken over. You know that. Now, one has to get to know the facts. What happened was that in Alger, capital of Algeria, there was a big celebration. It was anniversary of their independence or whatever it was. The Iranian Prime Minister had gone there.
It's before the Islamic Revolution.
No, he was the Prime Minister appointed by Khomeini.
Okay.
He had gone there. Now, the Americans had also sent Brzezinski. Brzezinski was the National Security Advisor, Polish-born. Not because primary purpose was to speak to the Iranian Prime Minister. So Brzezinski called on the Iranian Prime Minister and told him that we have nothing against your regime. Whatever money Shah had paid for weapons, we will deliver. In fact, you and I have a common goal to stop Soviet expansion, our common enemy. So the Prime Minister said, yes, of course, we shall work together. But then at that point, the Prime Minister was told by somebody in his entourage, the radio was saying that Carter had decided to give political asylum to the Shah.
Yeah.
So immediately the Prime Minister said, give us our Shah back, meaning send him back. So Brzezinski said, how can we? My president has taken a decision. We can't change it. So all that they discussed
Went downhill.
went down. And the Americans left. And the Prime Minister went back to Tehran. Within 48 hours or so, saying young people, not with Khomeini's orders or government's orders, they just surrounded the American embassy and decided to take it over. It wasn't a government decision.
Because that was the time when there was a kind of anarchy.
Anarchy.
Because the new government hadn't established itself yet.
Yeah, that's right. And Khomeini had not given the instructions. But these youngsters thought that is what Khomeini would like.
Okay, so were they working for the Khomeini or
Well, they were
Marxists too then?
No. They were
Islamists.
youngsters
Okay.
working for Khomeini, sort of, Well, they took over the embassy. And then you know what happened. Carter tried to rescue mission which failed. And of course, sanctions followed. But what is most important to note is that the American embassy in Tehran had told the State Department, don't give asylum to the Shah. Because there will be consequences in Iran. It will not be safe for our embassy personnel. And another thing is that Kissinger and others put pressure on Carter to give asylum. But even the Secretary of State had said there is no need to give asylum. Because these people, Kissinger and others had argued that Shah was seriously ill and the treatment can only be in the United States. That was wrong, medically wrong. And what? Carter lost his election.
Yes.
You see? So what I'm trying to say, the whole thing, and then Americans should have understood it was a bunch of youngsters who did it. And then they released hostages when Reagan took over. And
Because
then,
Reagan already had a deal with.
yeah. And then the sanctions should have been lifted. So, talking about 79, now 2025, how many years Iran has suffered under sanctions? I'm against this whole philosophy of sanctions because it's the people who suffer, not the top leaders of the government. They don't suffer. It's the ordinary human beings who suffer.
So how were the relations of India with the Pahlavi regime or Shah? And how did Tehran look like at that point of time? Because a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia
Yeah, we had very good relations
with Shah.
with Shah. We had so many of our doctors, engineers, managers working there. You know what I mean? Indian community. And Hinduja was doing a lot of business. Cement and sugar and all that from India. You know. And Shah's sister, Ashraf, she was also involved in the business. We had good relations with the Shah. You know,
Why did he fall?
Pardon?
Why did the Shah's regime fall? If it was so good and liberal and modern.
No, Shah's regime fell primarily because it was a police state. You did not have freedom of expression.
Okay.
The only people who could speak freely was the mullahs in the mosque.
Why did they have freedom of speech?
Shah didn't interfere with the. I mean, that would have been too much.
I mean, they are the one who led to his final.
I know, but I
demise.
said interfering with the mosque would have been too much.
Okay.
So they were free to talk. And then there was inequality. You know, some Iranians are so rich. In fact, as first secretary, if I called on a senior Iranian official, they always gave me a present, a golden fountain pen. And I can't reciprocate in the same way.
It made of real gold.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So what I used to do was to carry Indian tea, nicely packed Indian tea, which was appreciated. I could afford it.
And they liked it.
They liked it. After all, you know, when you get a gift, you have to give something back. You know. So there was this thing. And then Shah had the so-called White Revolution, industrialization, and some land reforms,
Education.
all that. But you know, the industrialization was not as good as it was claimed. There was a car called Paikan, made in Iran. Now, the British collaboration. The joke was that in that car, only the air in the tire and the water in the radiator from Iran. The rest
Is from
came,
England.
you know, came from abroad. That was the joke. It was not, you know, sort of, you know. But then there were these orthodox elements who didn't like women to be dressed in Parisian fashion, you know. So there was a certain, so the mullahs were, they started speaking. And Khomeini himself, you know, his speeches, it used to come in a sort of, what is it called? You know, you can hear it, the audio tape. And these tapes used to be distributed. you know. So, and don't forget, the Shah, as you know, in 1953,
Yeah.
Mossadegh nationalized the Anglo-Iranian oil company, and London wanted military action. Eisenhower said no, but then the CIA arranged, Shah fled to Rome. The CIA arranged for a military coup, costing only $10,000, and the Shah was
Put on the throne
reinstalled.
again.
In fact, Iran was moving towards democracy, not only in 53, even earlier. But then the West and Russia stood in the way.
Yeah.
I mean, not Soviet Russia,
Tsarist Russia.
Tsarist Russia.
It's way back, right? And there was a collaboration between the British Empire and Tsarist Russia that you take the North Iran and we'll take the
That's
South
right.
Iran.
Yeah, and also they did not want democracy. Because the
West is the real. Is West the real villain?
yes, in fact, they don't want democracy in the Islamic world. You take Egypt. In the 1880s, the Egyptian, the king had agreed to a democratic setup. That is, he will be just the king, but the election. But then you see the king had borrowed a lot of money from Britain and France. You see, and they didn't want it. So the man, the colonel who sort of got a democratic constitution, they exiled him to Sri Lanka,
When we talk about Iran, so I want to ask you one question. Is it just because of the oil or the oil? I mean, I was thinking about something. When we were young, we were always told that USA is the good guy. And we have Islamic terrorism in the Middle East. They are the bad guys with AK-47s. But then we started to think, who gives them AK-47? Of course, Russia. But as we read more and more, we come to an understanding that USA or the West, first the British Empire and then the USA, who was the hegemon, they tried their best to not let democracy flourish in many Middle Eastern nations. So is it just because of the oil economy? And if India had oil, would it happen to India too? I mean, is it just because we don't have any major resource, just some cheap labor?
Let me put it this way.
It's a classic case of what if question.
You see, when Iraq was attacked in 2003, the oil majors, they were laughing all the way to the bank because Iraq will be occupied and they will be able to have full control of the oil wealth of Iraq. So oil is very important. But also the West in general and America in particular, they prefer to deal with a dictator. It's much easier than dealing with a democracy where power is not concentrated. You have to cultivate so many people to get what you want. And in any case, they don't believe that the rest of the world is capable of democracy. These are inferior people.
That's what they thought about India too.
Yeah. In fact, when we had a universal franchise in 1950, many in the West thought, India, such a underdeveloped economy, such a low literacy rate, such a low per capita income, universal franchise, even the Hindu, the daily from Madras, now Chennai,
Yeah.
even they wrote saying that this is not a wise thing to do. giving vote to illiterate millions. That is attitude.
But we overcame that.
I know, we did the right thing. We did, but my point is that was attitude.
So coming back to the question again, like you said, yes, oil has a part to play, but it's a question of imaginative diplomacy. What if India had oil, like Iraq?
Well, if India
What
had
would have been
oil,
the case then?
they might have tried. That doesn't mean they would have succeeded. You see. We are not that pliable.
Like Iraq, or they're very powerless countries.
No, the point is this. You take the case of Iraq, America 2003, ostensibly to get rid of WMD, weapons of mass destruction. Well, the correct expansion, as I have said in my book, Common Sense on War on Iraq, weapons of mass deception. Because as you know, America spent, they sent 1,600 inspectors and they looked up 1,725 sites looking for WMD. They couldn't find it. And knew, Bush knew that there was no WMD. But he thought that was the best excuse they can give. You know what I mean? They were cheating. He was lying. You see? But I don't think, India as a people, we are not that
Pliable.
amenable. You know what I mean?
And it is the same America which supported Saddam against Iran, and they finally then hanged him in 2003.
Yeah, in fact, you see that before that, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Now, America wanted him to invade Kuwait so that they could have a military presence in that part of the world. There was a Central Command, which was at that time based in Tampa, Florida. And the guy was Schwarzkopf, General Schwarzkopf. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Schwarzkopf thought, what was the war doctrine of the Central Command? To prevent the expansion of the Soviet Union or aggression by Soviet Union into West Asia. That was their war doctrine. So Schwarzkopf told himself, Soviet Union has collapsed, so war doctrine has to be changed. And Russia was not going to come into West Asia at that time. It was so weakened, so weak. So he changed the war doctrine, preventing Iraq from attacking Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and all that. And the war doctrine can be changed only by the president. So he got it changed. Then he went to the Gulf and talked to the sheikhs. Iraq is going to attack you. Okay? Then, of course, between Iraq and Kuwait, there was a dispute about oil because there was one common source from which they were getting. There was an arrangement, that either side will not overdraw. Nothing like that. Anyway, so what happened was that America went on cultivating Saddam Hussein. In fact, Kissinger had a firm, consultancy, which was working for Saddam Hussein. And the American ambassador, she called on Saddam Hussein, you can check the date, 25th of July. Or rather, Saddam Hussein summoned her actually. And you know what she told him? My instructions are to strengthen and deepen our bilateral relationship. We are not interested in intra-Arab disputes. Saddam Hussein had at least 20,000 troops at the border. We are not interested. She was giving him the message, go and attack. And even the day he attacked, 2nd of August, that Saddam Hussein got a message from Washington saying that, certain things which you had asked for, they are being dispatched. And to go back to Schwarzkopf, at some point of time, Schwarzkopf was doing a simulation. In the military, you do a simulation. So messages were coming, Iraqi troops were here, and all that sort of thing. But then the actual war started. Messages started coming, and the messages were almost identical. And Schwarzkopf lost his temper. He told his office, give me 2 trays. One for the actual world, one for the simulation. And write in big letters, actual world, simulation. Otherwise I will get confused. So they were expecting it, they wanted it. Why? Then they could send their troops to
Iraq.
Saudi Arabia. Saudi
Saudi
Arabia.
Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. They wanted a presence there. Even that, Dick Cheney, Defense Secretary, and Colin Powell, Chairman of the Joint Staff, they went and said, Saddam Hussein is going to attack you, but the Saudi king was not prepared to ask for American military presence. Then they showed him some photographs, which I think Schwarzkopf has said in his memoir, slightly doctored, showing Iraqi tanks directed against Saudi Arabia, which was not true. But then the king agreed. Incidentally, at that time, I got from our embassy in Cairo a dispatch from Minister Political, and Nina Sibel, she was the Minister Political, much junior to me, and she sent me an article in Al-Ahram, the Egyptian newspaper, which said that Saddam Hussein is making a big military mistake. He should move towards Saudi Arabia. Not all the way to Riyadh. Just capture some oil wells. Sit tight and say that now we can negotiate.
Instead of Kuwait.
No, Kuwait had already taken. No, additionally, we should take over a part of Saudi Arabia.
But till then, hadn't the United States declared a war?
No, they had not. I'll come to that.
Okay. Take some parts of oil wells.
And then sit tight and say that we can negotiate. Because he didn't do that. That was his big mistake according to this article.
Okay.
So I asked Nina Sibel. It was an article without a proper name who had written it. I said, find out who wrote it. So she found out. It was the retired army chief of Egypt, a general who had written it anonymously. You see? No, America did decide to send troops and Saudi Arabia agreed. But it always takes time. It took them months and months. The point which the Egyptian general made was that Saddam Hussein had the time. You see, to do what they said he should do. He had miscalculated.
So then, wouldn't the Americans attack them directly?
No, my point is that attack meaning what? Only air war. But they did not have the troops there.
But somewhere down the line, they would have troops there, right?
No, my point is that if Saddam Hussein tells the Saudis, let us negotiate, Saudis will negotiate.
The Americans will be out of picture.
Yeah. If he says that I'll withdraw, but let's negotiate.
Some treaty or something.
Yeah, anything. All that he wanted was, even from Kuwait, he was prepared to withdraw. He wanted a face-saving formula of some concession in the case of in regard to the Palestinian cause. That's what he wanted. Incidentally, when Christmas time, Saddam Hussein released women and children, the Westerners. The American embassy rushed to me, the counselor. Why is he doing it? What have you heard? Because they were worried, because they were planning their military action. And if he withdraws, it's like this, My view is that if Miss Pentagon is all dressed up for a party, then she will have a party.
Got it. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And one question about Saudis before we turn back to Iran. How is that Shah of Iran fell? Saddam fell, then Gaddafi fell, but Saudis have managed to quell any revolt, no revolt from them, and also they've become the American allies also.
Couple of things. One is that they are the custodian of the two holy sites.
Okay, that plays a role.
Mecca and Medina. That gives them a certain legitimacy. Secondly, with the oil wealth, the typical Saudi is well off. Whether they work or not, they are well off. So the oil wealth is shared. And third, that freedom of expression, political freedom, that thought is not there.
Because of their well-off.
They are well off.
So that was not the case with the Iraqis or the Iranians. They were not well-off.
Iranians, it was the well-off who wanted, the youngsters who wanted political freedom.
The democracy.
Yeah.
But instead they got Islamic democracy.
Yeah, Islamic democracy, which is, which is not democracy.
It is not democracy. So is it a mullah regime like the Americans lament?
Americans?
Lament that it is a mullah regime and it has to go.
No, my point is that Americans are supporting the Shah and Shah.
So how did they let the Shah fall?
No, they couldn't have done anything about it. What can they do? What can they do? You can't bomb. No. There was so much of, in fact, I've been to I told you I've been to some of those demonstrations. Young ladies used to go and give a rose to the soldier. In fact, it was not a bloody revolution. Very few people died.
Because Shah didn't order to fire.
Yeah. And partly because, the point is you have to understand that those young men, they don't know whether their sisters are there demonstrating.
Got it.
Of course, Shah will take the trouble to have young men from a particular part of Iran, but even then, people are related. As a young army or police officer, you don't know whether in that vast, big crowd, whether your own people are not there. So the army also won't fire. I told you, the demonstrators do and they use the Molotov cocktails, and when the job is done, the security forces come.
Do you think Iran went back to Stone Age after Shah fell?
I wouldn't say that. What happened is that unfortunately it didn't become a democracy, and these mullahs, what is their business in telling women how to dress? I mean, those who want, let them dress whatever they want. But why, dictate to women how they should dress? It is wrong.
Is that the only point of contention?
No, that is one
One of
point.
them.
The other is the Ayatollah is the final authority. It is not a democracy. No. I think Iranians are entitled to have a democracy.